Hello, and welcome to Mr. Tom's Microsoft Excel tutorial for 2013 Basics. And today we're going to look at some basic formatting options we have for data we have in Excel. Now here I've got a basic table I've put together with imaginary data for an imaginary bookstore, Mr. Tom's Bookstore. And it's a table showing sales through January, February and March with a quarterly total in the final column for different types of books, non-fiction, fiction, and picture books, and with a total for each month and the quarter at the bottom, a grand total in the final cell. So what we first want to do is kind of clarify our table a bit more, and to do that we can put some borders around it. Now to put borders around a table or any cells, click on the first cell in the table in the data for the data in question, which is the top left cell, and then click and drag down to the bottom right cell, the last cell in the table, highlighting all the cells that you want to put borders around. And then we can come up to this option, which is the borders icon, and clicking on the drop down, and it gives you a whole host of different options that you can for borders that you can put into your cells or around your cells. And we're going to use all borders, which will simply put a border around all the cells that we've highlighted. And you'll see that it has, as we'd requested, put borders around all the cells. One thing that you'll notice is the quarterly total is too much text to fit in the cell as it is. Now to adjust that, this is quite common in Excel, but to adjust it, you come up to the column header, the E, the letter that represents the column in question, and highlight it, and then you come in between the cell you want to adjust and the cell next to it, and it will produce this cursor with two arrows, one pointing in either direction, and you simply double click and it will adjust the column length, column width to the width that it needs to be to fit in all the information. So once that's adjusted, we'll go back to our table and we can see that perhaps we want our titles of our columns to be slightly more noticeable than the data, just to make them stand out a little more. So again, we will click on the first cell in question and drag it across all the cells that we wish to adjust, so that all those cells are highlighted. And again, we've got some various options. We can make the text bold by coming to this big bold B. And perhaps we want to put some color behind these cells to make them stand out more. And to do that, we come to the fill icon, which is the big bucket of paint. Click on the drop down, and it gives us various colors that we can choose from. There's also many more colors if you come to the more colors option, but for now we'll just keep it simple and we'll make it a nice blue. And one thing you'll notice if I go back to that drop down is that it will give you a preview of all the different colors as you hold your mouse over the color in question. But yeah, I'm going to choose blue. I could also change the color of the text if I wanted to by coming to this big font color icon and again clicking on the drop down. And again, Excel will give me a preview of what that would look like, but I think that's probably unnecessary. We'll keep it professional and go with black. We can also do various things to the title. For example, let's go through the other options. Again, we can bold it with the big bold B. We can italicize it with the italicized I. Or we can underline it with the underlined U. You can also click on this drop down and go to double underline. We can change the size of the font. As you may be familiar with this in other programs like Word, we can come up here, click on the drop down, and it gives us various sizes for the font. Let's go with, and again it gives you a preview of what that will look like before you select it. We'll go with 14. You can also change it without going to that drop down with the increase font size and decrease font size icons here. And you'll notice that just by clicking on it, it jumps it up one size each time you click on it. So other options that we have on this home tab that we can use to format our table. Let's highlight these types of books. Perhaps we want to do something to to adjust those. Firstly, we can change how the text is aligned. At the moment, it is aligned to the left. We might want it to go down the middle of the cell, and we click on that, and you'll see that the text moved from the left-hand side into the middle. We can also have it aligned to the right, and again, it puts it to the right, but we'll have it for the left for now. We can also, if you have a lot more text in your icon, you can align it to the top of the cell, to the middle, and to the bottom, but that's not really necessary because we don't have much text. You can also put it off to an angle if you so wish, but that again is unnecessary at this point. And if you are unhappy with the change you've made, you can come up to the undo backwards arrow and click on that, and it just goes back to the way it was. Now, previously we showed you how to adjust the columns for the quarterly total just by double clicking like that. But let's say that we, instead of doing that, we want to keep the column the size that it is, but we also want the text to fit in the cell anyway. So it's perhaps by making the cell bigger, making the row larger. So if we highlight the cells in question again, and we go up to wrap text and clicking on this, basically what wrap text does is it makes the text fit into the column sizes that you've defined. So basically it's made the row wider and put total beneath quarterly as opposed to next to it where it was previously. Again, if you would rather have it the other way, we can just go back to undo. But let's keep it as wrap text. You can also merge and center various columns, which actually puts together more than one column at a time, which isn't ideal in a table sometimes in Excel, but we'll go into that in a later tutorial. But for example, we could do it with the header here. If we want it to be in the center of our table, we can highlight all the cells, the 5 columns, and then click merge and center, and it will take Mr. Tom's Bookstore out of cell A2 and extend it across the whole thing. And so cells A2, B2, C2, and D2 and E2 all became one single cell and put Mr. Tom's Bookstore, the title, in the middle. So moving along, we can also define how our numbers are presented. So at the moment, I'm saying that these are all sales, as in number of books sold, but perhaps in fact this is the dollar amount of books sold. We can come up to this number option and click on the dollar sign, and it will turn them all into dollar amounts. So instead of selling 1,050 books, we actually sold $1,050 worth of books. It gives you various options. Perhaps we sold English pounds or euros, various accounting options. Let's stick with dollars. We can also change them into percentages, which we don't want to do, but you can click on the percentage mark here, and if you can also put in commas to separate for 1,000 for thousands. At the moment, it's quite a small table, and because our numbers are so nicely rounded, perhaps not realistically so, but they are, we probably don't need the 2 cents on that decimal, so we have the option of removing decimals. You can either increase the number of decimals or decrease them. In this case, we'll decrease them, and we'll just show it as whole pounds because the cents really isn't necessary. So that's probably the basics that you will need to know for formatting a basic table in Excel. I hope it's been useful. If you have any questions or if you'd like any additional follow-up videos to explain anything else, then please comment. Thank you for watching. Bye.